Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here with you for Play to Win Part 2. My name is Arlene Blake. I am the founder of Women on the Rise International Incorporated, and I am so happy and excited to be your host for today's webinar. So I know some of you are going to start filtering in here because we had, I know, at least 150 people who registered on the Eventbrite platform alone, and then many of you also who have secured your seat either through our YouTube channel, our LinkedIn channel, or our Facebook group. So again, so excited to have so many of you joining us here this afternoon for this lunch webinar. So I hope you guys have your salad or whatever it is that you're eating today as we go through all of this great information, because it's going to be a power-packed session. I do want to remind you all, if you did not register via the Eventbrite link that went out, please make sure you do so. And the reason why that is so important is because we want to be able to share with you all of the slides that we're using for today's presentations. I know you're going to come back, and at some point, one of you are going to comment and say, how do I get the slides? Well, that's how you get the slides. You have to make sure that you go to the Eventbrite page and you register your information so that we can share that information with you. So as you see, I have 4 other beautiful ladies here with me this afternoon who are ready to jump in and share some really important information that you all need to know before big changes happen next week. So I am going to have one of our featured guests, Ms. Ritu Jalhan. She is going to go ahead and get her screen shared so we can go ahead and get our slides rolling and introduce all of our amazing speakers.
There you go.
You got it up there? Okay. Oh, perfect. Yep. And I'm going to share how our presentation is. Look at that. We are getting so technically savvy here. I love it. All right. So we are going to be talking about the history of the women-owned small business. You can go ahead and roll that slide, Ray, too.
All right. Oh, gosh. Let's go.
And I think we have it as Ray too goes ahead and gets back to the first slide there, no problem. We had some welcome messages, some individuals saying good morning. So excited to be here. We have, let's see, Regina, miss me. I am with you. I am excited as well. Yes, ma'am. We have Leslie on here saying greetings. Greetings, Leslie. So thankful that you are here with us this afternoon. We have Rose there. Good afternoon, Rose. We have, let's see, Nancy on it. Oh, there's Miss Nancy, yes, who was part of Play to Win Part 1 last month. Hello, ladies. This is going to be wonderful. Yes, it is. So excited that you are here with us again. We have Sophia Williams-Brown. Hey there, Diva. So excited to have you here with us. And, oh, I'm sorry. So I do use the word diva, which is spelled D-E-E-V-A, not the Mariah Carey diva type, but it is a Hindu term for goddess. And so within Women on the Rise, we believe that every woman has a goddess within her that is waiting to be unleashed. So you may hear me refer to some of our members as divas. So that's what that's all about. All right. So as part of the program here today, you're going to see all of these organizations represented that you see here on your screen. Ray, too, is that a video that we're going to play there, or?
No. Sorry, that's just the logo.
No problem. You can go ahead and go on to the next screen so we can start doing our introduction of our speakers. Sure. And I think we'll go one more.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay in my computer.
No problem. Okay, so one of our speakers here this afternoon, and you can go ahead and say hello. We have Miss Lourdes, right?
Lourdes. Yeah, Lourdes. That's perfect.
Lourdes. Martin Rosa, who is the president of Government Business Solutions, former American Express advisor on government contracting, and the 2016 SBA Woman-Owned Small Business Advocate of the Year. Yes!
Thank you.
Webinar. So extremely excited to have you in this conversation. I know you come with a wealth of information, so we're so excited to have you. Next, we have Miss Natalie Rosa, who is a project manager and advisor for minority and small business owners, as well as prime contractors, to help identify opportunities in government contracting. She has worked with Government Business Solutions, LLC, as program support, project manager, and event coordinator on contracts with federal government agencies. So thankful to have you and part of this call. Again, a wealth of information that's going to come from Miss Rosa as well. All right, we can go on to our next slide. And we have Miss Raitu.
Yep, sorry.
Okay, no worries. We have Miss Raitu Jalhan, who is the Orlando MDB Center Director. She has over 15 years of experience in scaling supply chain businesses across the USA. She is the focus of Jalhan's work has been on the growth of minority businesses, women-owned businesses, and disabled veteran supply chain companies. So thankful to have you on this call, one of our very own board of directors, Ms. Raitu Jalhan. So excited to have you. And then we have Ms. Diane Sears, who is the regional director in Central Florida for the Women's Business Enterprise Council of Florida. She's also the co-founder of the Go for the Greens Foundation, a 501c3 organization. She is the founder and president of Diverse Media LLC, and she is the owner of I4 Business Magazine. So as you all can see, we have some amazing boss ladies that are part of this webinar this afternoon. So you guys are definitely in for a treat. I know we still have some individuals that are coming on in. And so again, I just want to remind you all, one, if you have any questions whatsoever, make sure to leave those questions in the comment box here so that we can get those and we can make sure to address all of those questions. And also, depending on how you came about this webinar, if you have not had the chance to go to the Eventbrite page and register for this webinar, please make sure that you do so that you can receive the slides at the end of this presentation. Well, again, welcome, ladies. And again, thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. Raitu is going to be managing the slides here. And so I believe we're going to start off with Lourdes to go ahead and get started. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Arlene. And it's so nice to be around a powerhouse of wonderful women. I am a woman-owned small business, about 21 years now. Also, I have 2 daughters. Even my dogs are female. So it's nice to have so much power and excitement. Nancy Allen, that I know is one of our attendees, her and I have been strong advocates of this program for many, many years. But I do want to let everyone know that's on this call, is this has been an uphill fight with the Women's Procurement Program. It was written into law in the year 2000, actually during the Clinton administration. It kind of sat dormant, of course, during the Bush administration and everything that happened during 9/11. And then finally, and I think Nancy Allen, you were there with me when we testified before Congress in 2007, that women really needed to have a procurement program to kind of all of us be playing at an even keel. So finally, the federal government decided that we need to have a woman-owned small business program, and they call it the WOSB. I think Nancy Allen, you were there, which is a WOSB or EDWOSB program. And what the program does is it authorizes contracting officers to set aside certain requirements that are competitive just among women-owned small businesses. So the federal government has a mandate, unlike state and local, and there is a congressional mandate, which means that 23% of all small business contracts should go to small businesses. of all federal government contracts should go to small business. Now, when you talk about the volume, it's about $500 billion that the federal government spends in contracting. So on an average, just last year, about 110 billion of those dollars went to small businesses. And 5% of those small business of the federal government contracts must go to women. Now, this is an uphill battle. It was a challenge for us to get there, but I'm very excited to say that due to the advocacy of many of women that are, some of that are on this call, and that women that are business owners understood the difficulties that we were having and the challenges we were having in government contracting. So the 5% goal now finally became a women's procurement program. And on our next slide, I'll show you a little bit of some of the history that we had. In April of 2011, and the Federal Acquisition Regulation, which is the FAR, which is kind of the law book of government contracting, implemented the Women-Owned Small Business Program. But it was very limited to industries. It was only 83 industry categories, or what we call NAICS codes, which are North American Industry Classification Codes. Just 83 of those NAICS codes. But not only that, they kind of limited us even more. They capped the contracts that were set aside for women-owned at $5 million in manufacturing and $3 million in services. Are you trying to say that women-owned small businesses don't have the capabilities to fulfill on contracts greater than 3 or 5 million? Then they did us a little bit of a favor in the following year on 2012, and they lifted it to 6.5 for manufacturing and construction and 4 million for services. Well, we still thought that that wasn't fair. So then in 2013, we went ahead and lobbied again, and then the SBA issued an interim rule, which had the Women-Owned Small Business Program and the Economically Disadvantaged Women-Owned Small Business Program, and they took away the caps. Now, I will tell you how strong this was, especially for me as president of Government Business Solutions. Many of the small business advocates that were over at Department of Homeland Security were kind of upset the same way we were, that they capped the women-owned small business programs on set-asides at these ridiculous 4 million and 6.5. So they were ready and willing and able to put out the first largest women-owned small business set-aside contract. That was a $22 million contract specifically for staffing for TSA, Transportation Security Administration. Wow. That contract went out, and many of us bid on it. Now, I wasn't on the winning team, but I was excited to be historical and to be a part of that contract. We really helped the agency kind of fight against some of the larger firms that really wanted to go after that contract. And this is why it is so important for all of us to understand that many of the people before us fought for us to really get there. And then on the next slide, they strengthened the program a little bit more. In December of 2014, the NDA Act, which is the National Defense Authorization Act. And why is it attached to the National Defense Authorization Act? Because many times, a lot of the defense, funding that gets passed will get passed, and we kind of trickle along and we piggyback on the defense's opportunities that are being passed by Congress. So they passed a self-certification program that was going to end, and also a sole source authority, which means sole source means contracts that are set aside for women now could be awarded to a woman directly. It's different than the 8A sole source, which is a direct award, but hey, we'll take it. We still want an opportunity to bid with the federal government at an even keel with the other programs. Then in October of 2015, the FAR strengthened again and made the sole source process, meaning the sole source authority is allowed now in all industries. We increase the NAICS codes. Now we have 112 NAICS codes, and I believe that we're still fighting to remove the NAICS codes completely. But we're going to see the results of what happened in 2014 and as the fact of the NDAA 2015, because the changes are going to come through now July 15th. Finally, the Women's Procurement Program, and on the next slide, you could see the Women's Procurement Program is no longer going to be on the shoulders of contracting officers. You see, previously and up to July 15th of this year, if you were a woman-owned small business or an EDWOSB, you self-certified in the SBA portal. You loaded up all of your information in the repository. You bid on a set-aside contract with the federal government, but no other certification had to do this next step. That step meant that a contracting officer had to go into the repository. You had to give that contracting officer the approval to do so. And then if you didn't have all of your information uploaded, then you'd be submitting a proposal and you'd be deemed unresponsive. So that extra layer was kind of a burden for contracting officials. So a lot of women-owned set-aside contracts weren't being initiated by the federal government. Now, as of July 15th, that's all going to be going away. And the Women-Owned Small Business Program is no longer a challenge to contracting officers. Now the burden of the certification sits where it should be, in my opinion, which is the Small Business Administration. So I'm very, very excited to have been part of the history since the year 2000, testified before Congress in 2007. Glad that I was there during the signing in 2011 and part of WeBank, Women Impacting Public Policy, and also the U.S. Women Chamber of Commerce, because without these organizations, we wouldn't have been able to make this happen.
Yeah. Lourdes, this is Ritu. I just wanted to chime in. So it almost feels like, you know, we were running a race to get these SBA contracts, and there were just more hurdle, like it was a hurdle race, and there's just more hurdles in our lane. And, you know, I just want to say thank you for helping eliminate some of those extra hurdles for the women's lane, essentially is what it comes down to, because it's unfair that there was extra hurdles for women-owned businesses to gain contracts with the government. So thank you so much for your work. You know, I'm looking forward to hearing, you know, what these new changes and what the challenges are going to be with these new changes. So I'll just go to the next slide here and let you continue. But thank you for removing those hurdles.
No, thank you. Thank you, Nancy, for that comment. That's wonderful, because there are women organizations. I mean, we do have to be kept up to date with all of the information, especially with women impacting public policy. So thank you very much for that comment, Nancy. Now, real quickly, I'm going to go over some of the eligibility, because I think the topic is going to be covered later on. But to qualify as a woman-owned small business, you must be small. So number one, you must make sure that you're under those qualifying NAICS codes that allow you to be small. And also, you have to be 51% unconditionally controlled and operated by that woman, and that woman must be a U.S. citizen. A lot of people have come to me and say, oh, my wife is a part-time teacher, I'm running the business, she's 51% owner. That doesn't count. She has to be controlling the business, be on the day-to-day operations, be involved with the marketing, be involved with signing the checks, the hiring, and so forth, in order for it to be a legitimate woman-owned small business. And then to qualify as an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, an eligible business must be no less than 51% owned and operated by an economically disadvantaged business. So if you're already an 8A, which you're socially and economically disadvantaged and deemed by the SBA, then you would automatically qualify for the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, but you still have to go through the whole certification process. What justifies the new net worth is now at $750,000, and that's personal net worth. Now, excluding your primary business and excluding personal home residence, if you don't own anything, your income not exceeding $350,000.
Yeah, she was breaking up a bit. What she was trying to say is that the net worth excludes your primary business or your primary residence as well as your business. So anything that you own in between, if it doesn't exceed the $750,000 threshold, then you're good on the net worth. But I think that she's back with us. She can go back into the income exceeding.
You guys hear me well now?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Now, I don't know about you ladies, but I really don't want the competition. But there are only about, I say about between 120 to 130,000 women registered to do business with the federal government.
Wow.
I know there are more than that. There are women business owners in the United States. We need to step up our game because many of us that see the advantages of doing business with the federal government really need to understand that if we don't use this certification, we may lose it.
Right.
So it's important for us to understand that there are these set-aside contracts that sometimes agencies will say, I can't find the women-owned small businesses to be able to fulfill on the contract. And that's very sad to say. So I will say that organizations like these, Women on the Rise, organizations, these are very, very important to be able to disseminate this important information back to women.
Absolutely.
And now on the contracting program set-asides, let's continue saying the contracting program is based on unrepresented NAICS codes, which I'm hoping that will go away. Nancy, you and I got to still fight for that to get out of there. And because no other certification program, whether it be 8A, Service Disabled Veteran, or HubZone, is NAICS code driven. So yes, we're really trying to get rid of the NAICS codes, but hey, we'll take what we could get. And the EDWOSB is an underrepresented NAICS codes, and you could see those underrepresented NAICS codes on the SBA.gov/WOSB website. Thank you, ladies. I think that now I could pass it back on to Arlene or to Ritu. But please, if anyone has any questions, please by means either reach out to myself or to Arlene.
Now, I do have something that I wanted to bring up, and I know this was discussed when we did part 1 of Play to Win, but I'm sure there might be some new viewers who may have some questions about the NAICS codes. When you mentioned small business determined based off of the NAICS code, were you basically saying that for each NAICS code then there is a different number that would determine whether or not it is a small business?
That is correct. So, for example, the 5 most used NAICS codes in the federal government, the first one being Professional Administrative and Management Consulting Services, that is 541611. And right now, Natalie, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's at 17 million is what it is.
16.5. It's at 16.5, correct?
16.5 million?
Pretty much 17.
Right.
Yeah, and that's an average of 5 years. Remember, it used to be an average of 3 years. Now it's an average of 5 years. But then, to go back to what Arlene was talking about, when she talks about NAICS code driven, this is the only certification that's NAICS code driven, meaning that only women-owned small businesses that are their primary NAICS code fall within those certain NAICS codes can qualify for the program. No other certification has that limitation on it. And we've, like Lourdes said earlier, in 2011, it was only 83 NAICS codes that qualified as woman-owned. Anyone could own any business, or any woman could own any business and obviously be woman-owned. And we're the only certification currently that has that limitation on there. So we are really trying to push that limitation to be removed. That's pretty much what we're getting at. But yes, the small business size standard is dictated by your NAICS code for all small businesses, regardless of the situation. The manufacturing NAICS codes are dictated by employee count, and then the services and some construction, most construction, are dictated by dollar amount. So that let's say the 541611 that we were talking about, 16.5 million, at an average of 5 years, if you exceed that 16.5 million, you're no longer considered small. But that is an average. So let's say you make $100 million one year. If you have a really bad year the next year and it evens out, you're still fine. So.
But it's funny because the way the NAICS codes play is one of the highest grossing 8A certified firms. They're about 60 million in average revenues, average sales per year, but they're in an IT manufacturing NAICS code as their primary. That means that 1,500 employees or less allows them to be small. So they could have $14.99 and doing $60, $80 million a year, or in the average of 5 years, like Natalie mentioned, the way it is now, you're still considered small.
And during disaster conditions, large, it's mostly for war times, but large corporations can actually compete as small businesses. So That's something that a lot of people don't know. And considering that we are in a disaster time right now, a lot of the large corporations that know that they have the correct lobbyists behind them. So that's something to keep in mind.
So this is really challenging. This is Ritu here. Not only are we confined to only, 83 NACS codes?
So that's more than that. That was at the beginning.
Now we're at 112.
Okay. So still, it's limited.
Again, you were saying that professional, I think, admin services or consulting services was the top one. What were the other four?
So then you have professional, administrative, and management consulting. Then you have other management consulting services, which is 541990, which, let's be creative, that could be a lot. You also have the top construction ones, which are the 238220, the 236220, 210, and then you also have janitorial services.
Janitorial.
It might be changing now because of all the COVID-19 stuff. Healthcare is really up there because of the PPEs and everything like that. But for the most part, those are the top 5.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that information. And
so just to recap on the slide here, the certification for the women-owned small business is changing as of July 15th, and that's just in a couple of days. And then effective 2020, October 15th, the self-certification option will no longer be available. And to my understanding, Lourdes, this is yet another almost hurdle popping up, because are there other certifications that don't need to be, or that are self-certifying, or how is it working from the SBA?
So
yeah, go ahead.
You can self-certify. You do not need a third-party certifier. However, the SBA, and the reason why there are the third-party certifiers is because after many organizations sued the SBA in 2007, the Congress told them they basically had 1 year to get their act together and create this women's procurement program. So that's why later on in 2011, it was created. But what the program is there for, it is a set-aside program. And also now we have a sole source opportunity, which we didn't have before. All the other programs had sole sources and we didn't. So we're very excited about that. But now we have another hurdle, because although the laws were passed because of the NDAA 2015, and now they're being implemented, there isn't a lot of funding to be able to assist the SBA with the magnitude of women-owned small businesses and the amount of work that they're going to receive. So those third-party certifiers still will have to assist women-owned small businesses. Again, this is a free certification, but now it has a validity behind it, which I am very happy that they're doing this because of the fraud. There were so many businesses that just were uploading their information, going after women-owned set-asides, and when you looked at their website, the president and CEO was a male.
Right.
So because of that fraud, now the SBA does verify this. And the third-party certifiers are WeBank, which is Women in Business Enterprise National Council, and they are the largest certifier. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they are the largest certifier right now. You have the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce. You have NABO, which is the National Association of Women Business Owners. And then you have El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So those right now are the approved third-party certifiers.
Right. And so we're glad that we have Diane on the line now, and to help walk you through what is required to get this certification. And remembering that once you get this certification with WeBank, you also then are validated by the SBA because they are approved.
Yeah, before we move forward, it seems like it's a hurdle, honestly, about the whole situation of actually being self-certified. But as the program director for the SBA 7J Management and Technical Assistance Program, EDWOSB is one of the qualifications to be in the program. So you hear a lot of these women-owned small businesses that say, hey, I got my woman-owned, but they're not taking me seriously. They take you more seriously when you have a third-party certifier. Understand, it doesn't seem fair. Why do we have to be paying for a third-party certifier? Other certifications don't have to do it, things like that. But it really is going to set you apart, and it's worth it. Personally, it seems like a hurdle making it an actual certification, but from the woman-owned small businesses, you're having these, what Lourdes was saying, these male-owned businesses that are coming through and saying, oh yeah, I'm woman-owned because my wife is on there as 51% owner. And there's no regulation against that currently. So the problem, they're trying to fix it. Having it as an actual certification and having third-party certifiers will eliminate that problem because you're going to have a larger magnifying glass on the certifications. The certification process will look very similar to how the 8A certification process looks. So when we say there are hurdles, this personally, to me, I don't think that this is a hurdle at all. I think that the SBA and third-party certifiers working together is a great thing for the WOSB program.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
And I wanted to ask a question before I get started. Lourdes, and do you think that that going through a third-party certification is faster than going through the SBA if they are backlogged? I know this is all very new.
You know, I think that they're going to view, especially WeBank, because I know that as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if any of the other ones do site visits. But I know that through my WeBank certification, you guys came out and did a full-blown site visit. And I think that's the best way to really solidify that it is a woman-owned and operated business. So I think that they are going to take that into consideration. Of course, the SBA always has to say that you do have you don't have to pay to get certified because you don't have to do that with the other ones. But I think it is going to add leverage, like Natalie was saying.
Yeah, and Diane, I think that it's not along the lines of timing. It might, the SBA it's not a self-certification anymore, but the actual certification might take longer. It's like saying if, I guess your 8A certification takes a long time, but they might have that same regulation that HubZone firms or HubZone certification and 8A does. If you have a sole source opportunity in line, it might expedite the process of the SBA certifying. But I think that for all intents and purposes, I think the third parties is going to be faster from my end. I don't think that it's a bad situation to go directly through the SBA, but they got a budget cut, major budget cut. They're low on staff. And they're saturated with this EIDL, the PPP situation. They're saturated with so many other things and so many other small businesses that they have to assist, that this just seems like a cherry topper and like, hey, it might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. But I think going through third-party certifiers is actually going to really assist the program as a whole.
Yeah, thanks for answering that. I appreciate it.
All right, Diane, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so I actually work for Nancy Allen, who you all have mentioned. She is in charge of all of Florida and most of Florida and the Caribbean, and we are one of the 14 regional partner organizations of WeBank, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. So we are the Women's Business Enterprise Council of Florida, and I am in charge of Central Florida. So I am one of the people who does the site visits in Central Florida, helps walk people through the whole process, and gathers people together and helps. We help women here in Central Florida do all the things that they can do with the certification. So that's my area of specialty, is helping you use that certification. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. I'm actually a business owner myself, and I have been in business since 2000. So this is my lucky 20th year. And Lourdes, I've been crossing career paths with you for a long time.
I know, I knew I recognized you.
Exactly. So when I first started in business, I was actually with NAWBO as a member, and I worked my way up to be the National Economic Development Chair. So I would travel around with the board and come up with ways of helping make companies bigger in NAWBO, which was for any woman business owner. So so I've been in with WeBank now for many, many years and have gotten to see this whole process all the way through. And I have to say that it's a very rigorous process. It works, and it has such a level of cachet to it. So in other words, when you are certified through WeBank, people know that you are very serious about your business, that you're here to stay, and that you are definitely women-owned. We've seen some of those fraudulent kind of cases come through where the woman-owned business is operating. The woman in the business is operating out of the baby's bedroom or behind the back of the warehouse, and the husband has the big marble office in the front of the place, or the husband's out doing the work and the hands-on work, and the woman is just answering the phones. So we want to avoid things like that. So if we can go on. So let's talk about how supplier diversity works first. So WeBank was put into service 20-something years ago to help get women-owned businesses into corporations. And most corporations, many corporations, have a supplier diversity department or team or person who is basically the advocate inside the corporation. That person is someone who is assigned to come and go out and find as many women-owned and veteran-owned, minority-owned suppliers, LGBT-owned now suppliers as they can to fill the pipeline of suppliers. So they're basically our advocates. When they go back to their companies, then they go to the procurement people and say, hey, I think I have somebody for you. So it's really fun to be able to meet the supplier diversity people through our WeBank events and other events to get to know them a bit, to kind of follow in the same circuits that they go in, to all the different conferences every year, usually, and then have them become our champions. In order to do that, they need to know who you are, what you do, and what you're all about. And so your WeBank certification really comes in handy because they can look you up in the records. WeBank helps you put together things like your capabilities statement so that you can project yourself in a one-page document, either one page just front or front and back. And so there are a lot of things that you get out of being part of WeBank that are not just about the certification. Again, I mentioned a little bit that there are other certifications you can get that are very similar to WeBank certification, not necessarily just for women, but minority owned through the NMSDC, National Minority Supplier Development Council, the LGBTQ certification, and then there's also service disabled veteran. So there are all kinds of certifications, and people always ask me, which one should I go for? And I say, if I qualify for 2 or 3, I'm going to go for all of them. And the reason is because when you go out to the various events, sometimes you're going to run into the same supplier diversity people at all those events. And I know you all have been in the same world with me here doing that. Ritu, you and I have run into each other at many of these events.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The more they get to know you and get to know what your company does, the more chance that they're going to advocate for you. So then that works with the federal government too. I've had some people who have been friends who have worked in the federal government in procurement contracting. So very helpful. All right, so what's in it for you? Let's go on to the next slide and we can talk about some of the specifics about what's in it for you. We talked about how it's not just about having that certification. It's about what the certification does for you, what you can do with that. It's a tool. You don't just get certified and then all of a sudden you're going to get contracts. That doesn't happen. I've not seen that happen to anybody. Mm-hmm. Right? Am I right, ladies?
Yeah, 100%.
Right. It's a tool. It's just like a hammer or, a pair of scissors.
Diane, I always use the analogy of you're buying it's like buying a gym membership. If you're not going to go to the gym, you're not going to work out, you're not going to
You're not gonna lose the weight.
You're speaking to me right now, Lourdes. That's right. After putting on the 10 pounds of the COVID-19, 19 extra pounds, right? I'm on my way. So when you are certified, you get access to the corporations that are all part of WeBank. And then you also get access to things like the local government and the federal government. So those are actually a little bit newer for us. WeBank has been working with local governments to get them to accept WeBank certification. I don't know about you all, but where it works in my area in Orlando, Florida, a lot of times you have to have certification through the city. You have to have certifications through the county, through the state of Florida, through the Department of Corrections. You have to have all different certifications. And that's crazy. But the good news is that you're using basically the same documentation to get all those certifications, but you have to stop and take time to do it. And it's very time consuming, very worth it, but very time consuming. So some local governments I know here are Orange County Public Schools. They do recognize WeBank certification as one of their certifications. So that makes it just a little bit easier on us. And then the federal government, and that's what we've been talking about today. So I'll talk a little bit more about how that works. The opportunities, again, I want to say that you developing the relationships, that's so key. Just with any business, anything you do in business, it's all about relationship building, right? That's how you get your sales. You get invited to vendor open houses. I get these all the time. A lot of them are from school districts, some from state of Florida, some from the universities that are all here in my state, but also from places like Duke Energy, Moffitt Cancer Center, the big corporations, Toyota. So just being part of those is so valuable. You get to participate in some procurement roundtables, and I love to explain to people how this works. You'll go into a WeBank conference. You walk into a room, and there are maybe 200 big roundtables there, and people come up and say, the tables have the names of the corporations or government agencies, and you just walk up and you sit down, and then you have 15 minutes until a bell rings. And the people at the table will say, okay, I want your business card because I know exactly who I can go to. But I know that our company's never going to be able to use you. And even though I'm a supplier diversity person, I just can't really help you. So go on and move to the next table. So it's really helpful. And then the matchmaker meetings, I don't know if we've really talked about that, but those are one-on-one meetings where you get an opportunity for 15 minutes to present who you are and what your business is all about to the corporation or government agency. And then, they can decide whether they want to do business with you.
So just wanted to chime in at this point, Diane, and just tell the audience, one of the organizations that you founded, Go for the Greens, has done an excellent job of doing the matchmaker meetings. And, that's hosted in Orlando. Unfortunately, due to COVID this year, it's probably going to go virtual. Is that correct?
It's absolutely virtual.
Yeah. And so we're going to be doing virtual matchmaking sessions for that. But just wanted to let everybody know that hopefully, within 2021, we can get back on the green and, have people come out to these matchmaking events for Go for the Greens as well.
Thanks, Ritu.
No problem.
Go for the Greens is we've been around 13 years. This is our 13th year. And it's, we call it that because it's all about business growth, sustainability, and teaching women how to play golf on the golf course as a business tool. We call ourselves kind of Switzerland. We're not a membership organization like WeBank. And so we actually invite all of the different organizations that do certify to come and be our partners. And it's a much smaller atmosphere than going to the exciting WeBank conferences where you have 4,000 people. So we call it one of the steps in the circuit, and it's a nonprofit and it's run 100% by volunteers. So makes it fun too. So back to the application process. When you apply to be a certified as for WeBank, And this works with all of the different certifying organizations. You fill out an application online. We used to have to do it all on paper, and it was very time consuming. And I remember, I've always had like a big notebook, and you keep everything in a file folder binder. But you have to come up with all the supporting documents and all of that. And then you do get a site visit. So we help you walk through the whole application process. And if you go on to the next slide, I'll talk about that a little bit more. The first thing you kind of have to figure out when you're applying is, what's your story? So what is it that you're trying to get across to the corporations and the government agencies that might want to do business with you? And so throughout the process of filling out all of these pieces of paper, these documents, you have to describe your company in a way that makes sense and that can be repeated. Because if it's so technical, if you just describe your company by your NAICS codes, you're not going to have very much luck with the supplier diversity people. So keep that in mind. The application. Okay, so of course you need the proper name and contact information. I know that sounds goofy, but a lot of times people operate out of two or three different places. All of your stuff should match. The business codes are really important. When you do choose your NAICS NAICS codes, most businesses don't just have one that they qualify for, so you have to be real strategic about which ones you list first. Is that your experience too, Lourdes?
Yes, that is correct. And also, a lot of business owners don't know that their NAICS code is on their tax form that they fill out every year. Your CPA actually, when they ask you what line of business are you in, they identify you through the NAICS codes. So unlike me, when I first started my business, I had the wrong NAICS code. So then I quickly learned that I needed to change it. So always make sure that you look at those NAICS codes when you're filing your taxes.
And again, where do we find these codes?
The code on your tax form should be on the face page. Right there, and it will say industry code.
Now, if you're looking to make sure that you're using the right code, even when you're filing your taxes and any other documents, where are you going to go again to make sure that you're accessing the right codes? Going to that right now, right too?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, there is a
you want to go through. That's not a bad one at all. But you're also gonna want to go off of the small business size standards. So if you just Google SBA small business size standards, it'll pop up with the PDF of the small business size standards. And then it has all the NAICS codes on there, and then you could just put in command find for certain things. So that's the old one. It has the old numbers. The way that you can see it is the SBA logo is actually the new one, but it's fine. All of the NAICS codes are on there. It's just that the size standards have changed. There you go.
There we go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you see it,
can you copy that link and place it in the comments here? So anyone that is going back and watching the replay of this will be able to click on that link. That would be awesome.
All right. So while she's doing that, I just want to say I think it's really fun when I do panel discussions with people who work with the SBA. They actually know the NAICS codes by heart. And and it sounds like, Natalie, you're on your way to being one of those NAICS code nerds as well.
Oh, no, I'm already there. Growing up with Lourdes as a mom, I was right there. And then for the SBA, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That was the quiz around the dinner table at night, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was not even an option. My sister works for the Capitol, and I work for the SBA. There was no other option.
Some people win spelling bees, Natalie, and you're going to win the NAICS codes.
and you know why it's important to have the right NAICS code in your taxes, and it's because the government will say you should have at least 2 years of experience in your industry or category. So guess what? I learned the hard way. When I first started my business, I had the wrong NAICS code. I had an 82-year-old uncle that was a CPA, and he used the same NAICS code for all businesses.
It was like shipping or something. I think.
Everyone was in the shipping industry. So he just thought that's a code for everyone. So
he's like, that's just a random code that you put there. It is what it is.
when I tried to go for my 8A certification, I had to wait 2 years because I had to have proof of 2 years of doing business in that category.
So we
that
also waited. We also waited for a while because we wanted to know, well, not that you didn't know the government contracting landscape,
right.
but we wanted a contract in line. When I was working with my mom, we wanted somebody to say, hey, if you only had your 8A, we could give you this contract. And then what, you got your 8A in 2 months? Because
I got my 8A certification in 2 months because the SBA was saying, when are you going to go for it? And I go, wait a minute. I was 7 years of business already doing business as a subcontractor. And then a federal agency said, if you only had your 8A, this opportunity is coming up next year as an 8A set aside. So that's when I went for my 8A certification, because I am not a Native American or a Hawaiian Native or an Alaska Native, which have 8A for life. I'm, just a minority Hispanic woman-owned small business. So that's how I am socially disadvantaged. And of course, I was economically disadvantaged. I'm a woman-owned small business. But we only have that program for 9 years. So you want to maximize those 9 years.
Yeah.
Another question as well, too, since we're talking about the codes. Earlier, you were mentioning the top 5. I think we only actually got through 4. So we said the professional admin and management consulting, the other management consulting, construction, janitorial, and there should have been one more.
IT services.
IT services. There we go. Yeah. I know one of our viewers, Rose, was asking that question earlier. So that's an answer to her question there. Another question, I just want to kind of review where we are right now in questions. If someone has a fairly new or young business, what is the first step to take here as far as certification or getting certified?
Well, the nice thing about the women-owned procurement program is you do not have to be established for the 2 years. You have to show proof that you are woman-owned, operated, and controlled, but you do not have to have the 2 years. For the 8A certification, and Natalie, I think HubZone, you don't have to have.
Yeah, HubZone, you don't have to have it either. It's one thing that a lot of people think. It's exactly what Diane was talking about. Certifications don't give you contracts. So you want to have as many as you qualify for, obviously. Nancy even said it in the comments. The more you have, the better. It shows that you're serious about expanding, period. Exactly. And to the federal government, definitely. If you don't have certifications, they're not even going to look at you. I mean, that's the reality of the situation.
Right.
And the cost is somewhat minor. For a smaller business, it's $350 to certify. So you're spending some money, but it's the cost is somewhat minor. Yeah.
And that's just annual, right, Diane? That's just $350 annually. As long as you continue, which is a minute amount for the magnitude of relationships that you're going to build, not only on the federal side, but also on the corporate side.
Yeah, we do have a sliding scale now as your company grows. Your because it takes a little bit longer to go through your records and all of that.
Yeah. So just wanted to chime in for everybody. The question that Rose had in regards to the NAICS codes and how to get in with the government, we are, just as a shameless plug, we are aiming to do a Play to Win 3, which will take you through how to get registered in the government portals, what other certifications are available. We can talk more about 8A, HubZone, and I'll touch on that before we wrap up today's session. We do need to probably speed this along because we've only got a couple more minutes. But I just wanted to let everybody know that we are aiming to do a third version of this, which will be more in detail about once you get your certification or which certification is best, and then how to move that forward with doing business with the government and the various portals that they have available, how you would go in and register, so on and so forth. And that is also with Natalie on the 7J training program, how to do business with the federal government.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
So Diane, I think you've got about 3 more slides, and then I've got 3 more.
Yes, and I can go through this pretty quickly. I just wanted to let people know that there are about 30 supporting documents. So WeBank actually makes a list for you and advises that you print the list out and then start going through and getting all those documents. So they are everything from 3 years of tax returns. If you haven't been in business 3 years, you have to use your personal tax returns, the W-2 forms, your bylaws, your articles of incorporation, and you're not allowed to say this does not apply to me. You have to get those. So it actually helps you go back and build those things that you maybe didn't do when you were building your business at the beginning. And then things, if you've been in business for a long time, things like your stock certificates and those kinds of things if you've had multiple owners. So if you go to the next slide.
Mhm.
And then the site visit, I'll just tell you real quickly, it's so painless. People really worry about this, but we really have to fill out a form and turn that in. And that typically when the site visitor gets on site, and somebody just asked whether, how does it operate when you just work out of your home? I would say here in Orlando, I would say at least 50% of my site visits are home-based businesses, or at least partially home-based. So I'm in and out of people's houses all the time. Those site visits are really important because it allows us to get face-to-face with the woman business owner and really see what she knows for two things. One, to make sure everything is as it should be, and the other thing, to see how we can help her. So if you are becoming certified, we want to be able to actively help you use that certification. So it takes about an hour, sometimes longer if we're chattering, sometimes shorter. And the certification lasts for a year. You get a site visit every 3 years.
Okay, that's good to know. I thought the site visit was only once. Okay.
It's typically every 3 years. Sometimes, I mean, right now we're doing them all virtually, and we're building up to where we can maybe do every 3 years virtually. So yeah, and then once the way it works with WeBank, once you've gone through the WeBank application and you've been certified through WeBank, then your WOSB, what we call WOSB certification, kicks in, WOSB certification. So that just requires a little bit more paperwork and a little bit more activity on your part, but that's when that kicks in. So you get through the really hard part first, then you can go through the WOSB certification.
So just to recap, then women-owned businesses can get their WeBank certification, and once that's attained, they have to go back online to the SBA portal and declare that they've been WeBank certified?
No, no, they actually do that at the beginning. That's a great question too. Yeah, they can say at the beginning of their process of WeBank certification, yes, I'm interested in WOSB, and that's marked off, and then their application is flagged at the end so that we can reach back out to them and say, okay, now you're ready to get started on this.
Now here's a trick question for everybody, because there's WeBank certification, WOSB certification, which can be ticked off right at the beginning with the WeBank application. But what about the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business? The one that Lourdes was talking about. How does one, in this scenario, if they're getting WeBank and WOSB, sorry, I'm trying to WeBank WOSB.
That's another great question, because WeBank is not handling that. The way I understand it is that that involves your personal tax records, and we don't collect those. So so Lourdes, you might want to answer this question, or
what that is, it's an additional step in your WOSB certification. And it's important to note that if you're EDWOSB certified, you're automatically WOSB certified as well. It's just an extra layer that just you upload your personal financial statements and also your personal taxes just to meet the economic standards of what we pointed out, the $750,000 personal net worth. You do not exceed $350,000 in annual income. Nice problem to have. Or $6 million in your assets.
And if you have your 8A, it actually doubles. And you're women owned, you don't have to recertify as EDWOSB because the socially and economically disadvantaged standards are the same as 8A. It cancels each other out. So you just have to make sure that you say that you're woman owned. And you want your EDWOSB, and the 8A actually helps you solidify that. Just like WeBank would solidify WOSB, the 8A actually solidifies WOSB.
Gotcha. And just so we all are clear again, for someone like me who's not an American citizen, I can get WeBank certified, but I can't be SBA certified. If you're not a citizen, you can't be SBA certified.
Any of the certifications in the SBA, correct?
Yeah. Okay. Whew. Just glad we cleared that. So there's Diane's contact information. Diane, any final words before I take over?
Someone was asking how you move forward to certify, and I would say wbenc.org and look under certification, and it walks you through the exact steps.
Perfect.
Great. All right, so certification assistance. So sort of doubling up with what Diane offers for WeBank certification. I just wanted to introduce myself and talk a little bit about why getting certified is important. And also just to talk to you about what the MBDA Center has been doing for minority businesses, women-owned minority businesses in Central and North Florida. We do also have an office in Miami, if any of the listeners are in that area. And so I'll just get into it because I know we're running short on time here. So again, just to reiterate from what Diane said, the reason why you want to get certified is mainly getting access to new networks and new contacts. A lot of times these national exhibitions, whether it's with the NMSDC, WeBank, or even local ones, give you an opportunity to connect with supplier diversity executives and procurement executives. So people who are in the driver's seat of purchasing for large corporations and government agencies. So when you build those networks, of course, you're going to have an increase to opportunities with Fortune 500 and government agencies. A lot of Fortune 500 companies have a mandate and have a goal where they want to be part of what's called a $1 billion roundtable. And I was actually on a call yesterday with the organization to learn a little bit more about their objectives of how to spend more than $1 billion of their annual budget with minorities, women, and disabled veterans. So for example, a company like Ford Motor Company, they may not be spending $1 billion yet with minorities. So they want to achieve that. How are they going to do it? Well, by being part of networks like WeBank, the National Minority Supplier Development Council, as well as other organizations that help more minorities get part of that supply chain.
And NDLCC for the gay and lesbian.
Oh, yes, right. And so with the government agencies, it's the same thing as Lourdes was talking about. There's always these set-asides of 23%. In fact, the Orange County Convention Center has a huge project, $600 million renovation that they have. Within that project, they want to aim to do business with up to 25% with minorities during the renovation and the construction. So again, as a center, the Minority Business Development Agency, the center in Orlando, it is our objective to help more minorities in the construction, electrical engineering, plumbing, whatever HVAC, whatever that the Orange County needs to redo that portion of their convention center. It is our objective to help those minority businesses get certified, get access to capital, whether it's bonding, as well as, maybe connect so that they can join forces, do a JV, and have scalability to handle these projects. So again, those resource and support services are another reason why you get certified. JV opportunities, like I said just now, putting minority businesses together to do a joint venture so you can scale and take on these initiatives. Another great reason why you get certified is the Mentor Protege program. I know Lourdes didn't touch on it, but in the 8-8 program, there is a Mentor Protege program, and we can share more with that in our next session for Play to Win. And then also contract vehicles, IDIQs and the GSA. If you're not familiar with those, again, next session, we will be talking a lot about those. So with regards to the MBDA Center, which yours truly is the director for, we work with minority businesses in Central and North Florida to do the following. We have 3 core main services in the center. The first one is access to government contracts and Fortune 500 contracts, access to capital. So a lot of people, our phones were ringing off the hook during COVID, the beginning of COVID, applying for PPP loans, applying for EIDL loans and the grants. And we were there to help these small businesses that are our clients apply and get access to these funds. And then lastly, what we're talking about today is certification assistance, making sure that you measure twice, cut once. And so when you put in that application, you're as good as gold. We've been through this process a number of times helping businesses. So with our guidance and our support, we can make sure all your documents are in order. So when it goes to Diane, or when it goes to Beatrice and the council in the Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council, or the Orange County Minority Supplier Program, or even the State of Florida program, that you're going to be getting that certificate. There's no doubt. So in the Certification Assistance Program at the center, we do the following 5 steps. We assign a project manager. We send you a checklist. We go through it with you, the similar checklist that Diane was talking about. We assist in the compilation of documents. So we put together, a cloud-based portal where you can put in all the documents and we review them, and so they're all in order. We go through a final review, and then we guide you through the submission. So if you ever need this program, you ever need our assistance, our information is below. And so just to let you know, the type of SBA certifications that we help assist with are the small disadvantaged businesses. So that's a self-application. You can self-certify in that one. There's the 8A certification, Hub Zone certification, which we mentioned, and we will talk more about in our next session. And then we also now have covered a lot about what's happening with the women-owned small business and the economic disadvantaged women-owned small business certification. We also do assist with service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses as well. So thank you so much, guys. I hope I didn't take up too much time. I know I ran through that in like 5 minutes. But if you have any questions, feel free to post them up.
Okay. And they want contact for the Miami office as well. It looks like someone wants that contact.
Sure. Just shoot us an email or go
to the website.
Yeah. And I'll send you over the contact information for Marie and Jorge in Miami. All right.
Fantastic. We put it back with all of us over here on the screen. And let me pull this comment off. Fantastic, ladies. This was some really great information that has come through. We were actually able to go ahead and copy a lot of the links that individuals were asking for over to the YouTube watch party that's going on, because we have people all over checking and watching the replay or watching the live feed. So also, 2 things, you guys. If you want to get the link to watch the replay, if you want to get the slides from today's presentation, please make sure that you go to the Eventbrite link to register for the event, and all the advertisements that have been going out about this event. You would have seen the Eventbrite registration link. Make sure again that you put your information there so that you can get the email that will have all of these amazing slides that you can look at later, in case you weren't able to take down notes fast enough with all the information that was going out. I know there were some questions that had been asked throughout the presentation. One of those questions was for the women, for the SBA Women-Owned Small Business Program, what the other third-party certifiers were. I think this is correct. It has NABO on here, WeBank, the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce, correct? Okay. So those would be the other agencies as well, too, for those who were asking that particular question. What was another question that had come through, Kendra, here? I think that might have been it that we received. Oh yeah, someone also asked about or mentioned SAMS.gov and your DUNS number. So when should individuals
next session?
Right?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, just a little tidbit of what's going to go on next session. We're going to cover beta.sam. We're going to cover your SAM registration, why it's necessary to be registered in SAM, everything along those lines. The different certifications, not only WOSB, but why you should be certified in the different ways. Also, the other third-party certifiers are, there are other ones, but the ones that we mentioned are specifically for WOSB. Someone mentioned that FSMSTC is a third-party certifier for WOSB. No, it is not correct. MBDA is not a third-party certifier either. They help you with your certification. They're not the actual certifying body. WeBank and NABO and all the other ones that we mentioned are the certifying bodies, third parties to assist the SBA through this process. But yeah, in the next session, we're going to be talking about heavily in government contracting and specifically women in government contracting and teaming. I always say it in all of my webinars. Teaming is the name of the game. That's my favorite way to win contracts. Make small businesses bigger by teaming and getting together. So yeah, we're going to touch upon all of that in the next session.
Just important to note, Arlene, before we cut off, is that July 15th of this year, 2020, they're rolling into the new woman-owned EDWOSB program. So ladies, I would hold off on your certification, going on that certify.sba.gov website and uploading all of your information, because as of July 15th, that repository is on, and a new one is going to be posted.
Well, the new process will start July 15th, and the repository will be gone in October. So you have until October to take all your documents out. You won't have to really, but to recertify if your WOSB are ready. So you have to make sure that you are recertifying if you already have your certification. They talked about grandfathering in self-certified women-owned small businesses, but that's not going to happen. The EDWOSB, since it is a heavier lift and you have to have financials in place, they haven't discussed that mostly about being grandfathered into that program. But the WOSB, yeah, you have to recertify. Definitely.
Right. No, this is such a wealth of information, both Lourdes and Diane and Natalie. Thank you so much. I've learned so much from you guys in like the last 5-6 months that I've been interacting with you. And Diane, I've known for a longer time, but you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know I had like an impromptu call that came through one afternoon and I'm like, what was that information? It was so much that came through in that 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, really great information. And Ritu, there's some individuals that are asking, when is this next presentation?
That's a great question. We're trying to stagger them so that, you know, they're about 3 to 4 weeks apart. So just stay tuned. Arlene, Natalie, myself will huddle on it and we'll get you guys informed. And now that you've registered, we have your email address. So we will definitely email you information on the next session. And I just wanted to say, I know Arlene asked me this question a couple of days ago. She goes, so what does the MBDA Center actually do? And so, you know, I just want to, you know, I want to address that question while I have the platform and the mic. The MBDA Center, just to take a quick step back, started in 1950, started when Richard Nixon was president. Noticed that there were just not enough minorities participating in large government contracts. You know, when roadways were being developed, waterways were being developed, hydroelectric lines were being developed, there was just not enough minority participation. So he started the MBDA, the Minority Business Development Agency, to help minorities gain access to those government contracts. So again, our 3 main focuses are getting you access to contracts, getting you access to funds, and then getting you certified to make sure you get into SAM, you get into the state and local portals to get contracts from the government agencies.
Very cool.
Absolutely. And Nancy also came on and said, please consider joining WeBank Florida's weekly meetings on Mondays. She left the link there. We give lots of info about what's going on around Florida and business opportunities with our sponsors. So there's a great resource right there for all of you.
Yeah.
And then let's see. Okay, a person asked a question here. So all of this wonderful information won't be applicable after the new process is implemented?
You mean the information? The information
is the information that was received.
I think there's a little confusion. What we're talking to you about is how the process is and why the WOSB program is existing, everything like that. The information is still valid. The only thing that will not be valid is something that we didn't even mention today because it's not going to be valid, is the self-certification. Currently, WOSB and EDWOSB is a self-certification, meaning I go on a portal, I upload it myself, and they send you an email. They don't even send you a certification document saying you're certified, nothing. So now it's going to be a formal certification. I know it sounds confusing. Yeah. Why would they even call it a certification? But that's what that is.
It's also to eliminate the fraud. So now you have the SBA actually doing the check and balances to make sure that those are women-owned small businesses.
Pretty much it should have been like this from the first place, but now it's step forward, little baby steps.
And I want to point out that it takes some time to become certified. It's not something you can really do in an afternoon because all these documents you have to gather. So go ahead and get started. We give people 90 days, that's 3 months, to do the process, only because you need some kind of deadline. So once you register with WeBank, you put your name in the system, you have 90 days to go ahead and finish that. But you can download the document right now and start gathering the stuff before you even put your name in the system. Yeah. And that's going to help. Almost all the certifications require a bulk of information. There'll be differences in paperwork for different things. Not all of the certifications need your gynecological records like we do. Just a joke. I get that every time I go on a site visit. They say, "How am I going to prove I'm a woman?" Anyway, but they all just, they all require something a little different to prove your heritage or that kind of thing if you're being certified as minority owned. So, but go ahead and download the list and start getting those together because it'll take you some time.
It will.
Yeah.
Okay. And it does start July 15th. They were asking, yes, July 15th is the formal certification, and when the third-party certifiers will be certifying for the SBA as well.
Fantastic.
I got an LOL. Good joke, Diane.
Well, we had some really great questions that came through, some great information. As you all can see, this is an amazing panel, a group of ladies who know their stuff. And I can't wait for us to come back for the third session where we will give you some even more intimate details on what you need to do in order to secure those government contracts. So very excited about that. I've also posted the Eventbrite link again in the comments box, which should show up on all of the feeds that we have going on here today, so that you can make sure that you register your information there and you can receive the slides from today's presentation and additionally updates for when the next session is going to take place. Do we have any final thoughts, ladies, that you would like to share with everyone before we close out today's webinar?
Just do it, just like Nike said.
Yeah, I know, like, where's my check? I have my Nike. Just do it.
There you
go. I just wanted to say, it's great working with all these organizations and all these empowered and accomplished women, because we work together. I don't want anyone who's listening to say, "Oh, well, Ritu does this and Diane does the same thing." Like, why? We work together. We call each other all the time. We're always
literally text Ritu almost on the daily.
Yeah, exactly. And so for the most part, it is an imperative of ours to help women that are out there, minority women, especially for the Minority Business Development Center. We actually have an Enterprising Women of Color initiative this year that was launched, and Vivica Fox came to Orlando and launched the whole program. So we want to make sure that we are empowering more women out there to be certified, to be running the race just alongside our male peers, to get better, more efficient, and greater value to the government, to Fortune 500. So if you're out there and you're passionate about, growing your business, come talk to us, get certified. And as Lourdes mentioned, there's just not enough of us participating in these government contracts. Yet there's a set aside for us. So let's go out there, let's support one another, let's make it a win-win for everybody. And a lot of this change that's happening with whether it's the new administration, it may change again with another administration. You always have to have your finger on the pulse. So just reach out to us and let us know what information you need updated on. And we're here for you.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And also, I encourage all of you, I don't know if it was mentioned a moment ago or not, but the Go for Greens YouTube page has some really great videos. They had done every Wednesday where they were posting an expert speaking on different things that even related to certifying your business. And I mean, it was a wealth of information. So definitely make sure to visit their YouTube page and tune in for some of those sessions that took place. And also, I would like to do our own plug. So for Women on the Rise International Incorporated, we are seeking additional board members for our governing board for our nonprofit. And having so many wonderful women that are on this presentation here today who might have a passion for women's empowerment and women's financial economic empowerment, we would love to have you to consider joining our board. Again, Ray too is one of our board members for the organization as well too. So if you are interested, please make sure to email us at info@womenontheriseorlando.com. You do not even have to live in the state of Florida, because as you heard in our name, Women on the Rise International, we are looking to extend ourselves even outside of the United States. So definitely make sure to reach out to us if you are interested. We also have the Women on the Rise membership. So if you are interested in being a part of an organization that is all about personal and professional development, while being around like-minded women in both social and professional gatherings, please make sure to visit our website, WOTRinc.org, to learn more about what we have to offer. We have some exciting things coming up. One of the things right now is our Women on the Rise Awards Gala, which is going virtual. It'll be on September 24th. It is sponsored by Ford Motor Company. We are really excited to do this event. It was going to be our 4th annual gala, which we usually do in person in May. But this year, because of COVID-19, we're going virtual, but it is still going to be amazing. I encourage everyone to visit our website at womenontherIseorlando.com, where you can nominate a woman here in the Central Florida community who is making an impact both in her career and in the community for one of the 10 awards that are there. And what we do is we slim it down to the top 5 in every category. So we invite 50 women as the finalists to the gala, and we honor and we celebrate them. It is an amazing experience. I know Ray too can testify to how amazing it is. And we hope that you will think of your neighboring ladies to nominate. It's always interesting after we announce all of the nominees and someone says, oh my God, I should have nominated this person. I should have nominated that person. So make sure you acknowledge and celebrate the amazing women around you, or sometimes working behind the scenes, so that we can celebrate them for all that they do. So definitely make sure to visit the Women on the Rise Orlando.com page and click on the Women on the Rise Awards Gala link so that you can place your nomination. And with that being said, again, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be sending you further details about other events that will be coming up in Play to Win Part 3. But we wish you all a great weekend and to have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Arlene. Thanks, you too.